Dragon Ball Z Budokai is one of those games you sink way too many hours into as a kid. I got this game when I was 8 years old. My mom bought it for $5 in a dusty antique store in upstate Michigan, not knowing she was going to be indirectly responsible for altering the chemistry of my small, stupid, dumb, little gay brain. But coming back to it now, and beating it in 2.5 hours, I started to think that maybe this was better left in the memory vault. It's everything I remembered it being, but with the nostalgia goggles long removed, it wasn't exactly hitting like it used to. However, I do think Budokai has some genuinely great moments that justify its existence more than some other Dragon Ball games. Budokai was my introduction to Dragon Ball, and while I don't think it's the best gateway a kid could have had, what's here was enough to make a lifelong fan out of me back then. And now, I couldn't think of a better way to pay tribute than to go back to where it all started. Budokai is a 3D-ish Tekken-style fighter released on PS2 in late 2002 and GameCube in late 2003. The game doesn't have the most in-depth combat system you'll ever see, but it's at a point where I think someone who has a small bit of fighting game experience can grasp it pretty easily. Square is punch, triangle is kick, X is guard, and circle does nothing. Sometimes less than nothing. Holding guard and pressing back on the D-pad twice charges ki, and holding up or down on the D-pad while pressing X allows you to sidestep. Punching and kicking both have variations depending on what you're doing with the D-pad. Like pressing back square makes Goku do this spinning back fist, and forward square leads the combo with his right hand instead of his left. These chain into different kinds of combos that vary in their length and result. A back fist opener can be followed by a punch that launches the enemy, or a kick that knocks them down, and so on and so forth. Every character also has an unblockable charge attack by holding X and square that sends your opponent flying or knocks them down, depending on who you're playing as and if you're midair or on the ground. I've seen some enemies charge one mid-combo, so that's there, but I haven't done it myself. The key system and the capsule system that funnels into it plays a big part too. Outside of the main story, you have the opportunity to fit any character you want with moves or potential buffs that correspond to your ki gauge in fights. Goku, for example, can be fitted with the Kaioken, which raises his damage output by 10% for each upgrade, ending at Super Saiyan and a 140% damage output. There are combo capsules also, which are your special moves, and the support capsules are items like the Senzu Bean, or Goku's Heart Virus. Combo moves usually take up a couple bars of ki. Transformation moves require a certain amount of ki to activate, but the transformation stays active until you're below the initial amount and get knocked down. As I wrote this, I realized that there's a level of depth that maybe I wasn't giving the game credit for, but it's really hard to appreciate it when there's this stiffness and delay the game gives you. Getting a combo off feels lucky instead of rewarding and tactile, and regular inputs feel robotic. They lack the blending or dynamic feel that a lot of other fighting games offer.
Alec, it's a fucking kid's game.
Budokai's main story is the meat of this release. It follows the first 3 sagas of Z the same way some kid on the playground would tell you about if he watched the Nicktoons version and missed half the episodes. It skips some of the more iconic moments in the series, like Goku and Vegeta's beam struggle, or the cooler half of Trunks' entrance for some fucking reason, but there are some moments in here that are done really well. They're actually pretty sick. My favorite part in this entire game is during Goku's fight with Frieza, right after he goes Super Saiyan. Even back then, I'm sure Sean Schemmel's voiced different variations of the exact same story countless times at that point, but the way he delivers this line leaves no doubt in my mind that he just loves doing this shit. Chris Sabat, too, as Piccolo and Vegeta.
Me very angry. You want to play with me? Then let's play, boy. Are you ready?
I would really not be screaming that at the top of your lungs.
Fuck, every voice actor puts in way too much effort for something like this.
You're a time!
It was probably the biggest reason I fell so in love with this game, and eventually the wider series as a little kid. Even to this day, Dragon Ball continues to be one of the best English anime dubs to ever exist, if not the best. My favorite saga in the show is the Saiyan saga, but I think Budokai does the Cell saga the most justice here. Out of the first three sagas, the Cell saga is the longest and covers the widest array of characters and plot threads we've seen up until that point. In Budokai, since the Saiyan and Frieza sagas are relatively more simple, the game gets away with skipping a lot of story beats while still being able to convey the same story that the anime takes a lot longer to do. Budokai's Cell Saga really couldn't get away with that, and I think it's where the development team shows the most skill in their own adaptation and the most respect for the original. Almost every beat is accounted for, from Goku's fight with 19 to Vegeta's heroic entrance and his eventual beatdown by 17 and 18. It flows much better and feels like an actual condensed version of the story, unlike the Saiyan Saga, which flies by in actually 20 fucking minutes. It makes me kind of appreciate the Cell Saga more when it's actually my least favorite of the three. As good as it still is. I forgot to mention how good the music is too. Again, as far into the life of this series as we were in 2002, it's crazy to see composer Kenji Yamamoto. Hi. So I was doing some research mid-edit, and I found out that the composer of this game, Kenji Yamamoto, who's done a lot of other work for Dragon Ball throughout the years, was exposed and fired for plagiarism back in 2011. I'm not going to go back and rewrite and re-record, re-edit all of this stuff just to fit that fact in, make it a little more clean, but I do want to cover all of my bases. So just keep that fact in mind while the old me stays completely ignorant to this very important fact. Thanks. Inject some new, yet undeniably Dragon Ball-ass music into a game like this. Budokai is pretty light on extra content, but it does have a tournament mode, a duel mode, and a lab for you to dig around in if you want. Outside of the story mode, the highlight of revisiting this game was seeing all the fun details they dotted into this release. Every menu and sub-menu is full of these cute little animations, like Oolong struggling to stop a giant rolling dragon radar before you load your save, and he's got this funny little grunt. Goku's sitting on the Nimbus in the main menu, he's waiting for you to pick a mode before he flies away, and there's Bulma's dad aggressively sifting through paperwork when you're in the skills menu. It adds this levity and fun that Dragon Ball always needs, while the story mode focuses on the cooler shit. I'm not usually the kind of guy to be upset when a celebrity dies, but Akira Toriyama's did hit pretty hard. I was at work when I saw the news, and I audibly gasped, and I just kind of sat there for a minute in complete shock. I remember the rest of my night just being ruined. I remember that weird feeling of pure disbelief that stuck with me almost that entire weekend. It was so awesome to see everyone online pouring their hearts out and remembering his work and how his impact on pop culture went way deeper than many of us know. As for me, I couldn't think of a better way to appreciate him than by going back to where it all started. Budokai isn't a fantastic game by any means. At best, it's a halfway decent licensed game that adapts this legendary story to a less than halfway decent effect. But I can say one thing for certain, and that's that the people who made this, as little time or money they may have been given, really have some love for the thing they're adapting. No matter the quality of the end product, it's easy to tell when something is made with heart. And there's no doubt in my mind that Dragon Ball Z Budokai has some soul.
Do it now!